Sauerwein, and I'm the director of Chieftain Institute. Chieftain Institute is a program to come alongside homeschool families. We provide classes, we provide enrichment experiences that supplement what they're doing at their home. I'm a former elementary school teacher and elementary administrator. I worked at a private school in our area. Did that for a lot of years, and then when my children were in 6th grade and 8th grade, I decided to start homeschooling them. About the same time, my family joined Durwood Bible Church, and then they saw a need to be able to provide some help for families who were homeschooling their children in the older grades, who still felt committed to do that. We had a little group of us that we got together, just brainstormed some of ways that we can do that, and we decided to start offering classes. They asked me to be the director of that, so in the fall of 2000, we started Chieftain Institute for the first time. We had a total of 17 students, we had 3 classes, and we had 3 teachers. We had biology, Spanish, and art. It was a great beginning. So now we have a little over 100 students. It's fluctuated during the years depending upon the needs that parents have, but have a lot more than 17 and have 15 teachers instead of 3 teachers now. We primarily choose classes that we think would be a benefit to the parents. We want classes that we know might be a little bit harder for them to teach at home, either because it's nice to be in a group environment or because it's using lab materials that might be difficult to have at home. And then also sometimes there's classes that it just really helps to have dialogue going on. So you want to be in a group setting, perhaps for literature, different things like that. We currently have 23 classes. We meet at Durwood Bible Church. We run our program on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then at the very beginning of the school year, we have a kickoff. We have a back-to-school night. Allows students to be able to meet their teachers. Lots of times they get a first homework assignment, so we hit the floor running on the first day of class. We run for 30 weeks. Some students come in and just take 1 class and leave. We have many students who are here pretty much the whole day on Tuesday and Thursday, depending on how many classes they have signed up for. And then at the end of the year, we have a wonderful opportunity for the kids to show off what they've been learning. We have an open house night. The students have worked on chemistry projects and biology projects and Spanish projects and history projects. We have a really fun activity. Our physics students have to build bridges, and we have a contest to see which bridge is the strongest by the weight.
169 pounds!
And that's just a great time for the students to be able to show off what they've done, for parents to see what they've done, and also just for visitors to come in and kind of see what we're all about.
Like, there's different classes there that have different things that interest me and not things my mom can necessarily teach. So I get excited to go because I get to learn something new that I can't learn in my house.
Our students are from 8th grade through 12th grade. They literally come from all over, not just Montgomery County, Frederick County, Howard County. Some students come because they've heard about Chieftain. They've heard their friends talking and other organizations that they're involved with. Some students come because their parents say, I cannot teach you pre-calculus. You need to go to Chieftain Institute to be able to have that with a teacher who knows what they're doing. So it's just a variety of things like that. What is great is all of our students are fun, they're compassionate, they're eager learners. They just bring joy to us. We're just so glad that we have the privilege of teaching them, the energy that they bring to our buildings, and so we're just very grateful for all the students and the families that we get to come alongside. Our teachers come from all different backgrounds. Some are actually professional teachers from a past life perhaps. Some are homeschool moms. We have a doctor who teaches biology and chemistry, which is perfect. Our Spanish teacher knows Spanish because she's bilingual, because she grew up on the mission field. We have a college professor. We just have a real variety. The commonality with all of those is that they know their material. They know what they're teaching. They love to teach, and they exhibit that to the kids. So that's what's really important to us.
My name is Susan Richardson, and I am the Spanish teacher at Chieftain. I teach Spanish 1, 2, and 3. This past week, Spanish 1 had to work on verbs that have E to IE changes and O to UE changes. So they have to put their verbs in a verb notebook, and then I come and check, fixing, helping, explaining, and making sure that they had conjugated it correctly.
Morimos, morís, mueren, good. Quiero, quieres, quiere. Queremos, queréis, quieren.
It's a hard part of the present tense. It does no good to learn it the wrong way. And then the cards you saw me holding up, we were finally doing colors, for which they're very glad.
Anaranjado. Muy bien.
Verde. Verde, yes. So we did the colors we've been reviewing, and this week then we started on food, and that's their favorite unit, because we will eat next week. It's very difficult to do a foreign language at home. Even if you have a good computer program, there's something to be said for being in the classroom.
Buenas noches, jóvenes. Una mesa para cuánto? Cuatro.
For being able to try those funny sounds that come out sounding horrible together, laughing, fixing it. All of those things happen because they're in a classroom. Now, they're still doing a lot of the work at home. They're still getting the benefits of homeschooling, but they're getting the benefits of a classroom situation at least once a week.
Hi, I'm Nancy Lawless, and I've been teaching at Chieftain for 4 years now. I teach biology, chemistry, and this year I taught a class in physiology and introduction to medicine. In class today in biology, we were doing the immune system, so I was comparing the antibodies and how they're specific. A hands-on discussion would be the antibody would recognize bin Laden, but not Hitler, like an antibody might recognize chickenpox, but not the common cold. While I might walk right by Hitler, Katie, who is an antibody against Hitler, is going to go over and mark Hitler, and then the macrophages are going to come in and eat him.
During my project, I realized that the pH affects the corrosion rate because while the hydrogen ions...
As their main project in chemistry, each student has to plan and carry out a scientific experiment of their design. And in the process of doing the experiment, you learn what to do when you make a mistake, when things don't work the way that you expect them to, because that happens a lot, and that's part of science. The physiology class today, we were doing the digestive system. This class is actually a very in-depth class. I use a college-level text. There are 3 students in it. They're all seniors. They want to be vets and doctors. So we discussed the digestive system, and then we explored it by doing it in the minx. I do a smaller version of that lab in the biology class, but it was a lot of fun doing it with students who were really interested in it.
My name is Debbie MacConnell. I have been teaching at Chieftain for about 6 years. Sometimes there's subjects that there just needs to be a forum to be able to talk and just have someone that's willing to listen. And so Worldview kind of got started that way. We look at the perspective of what it is to be a Christian in a world today with other worldviews, not in an opportunity to bash anyone else's belief, but hopefully to understand and to be able to reach out to people. Today we were at the ending of a series on culture and entertainment. What happens when we're faced with a song or a TV show or a movie or a video game or a book that goes outside the confines of what we believe is to be appropriate? How do we handle that when we do it? Do we escape from culture and just refuse to ignore it? Or do we actually get involved? Is there a place for censorship on the level of the government, or is that something that should only be done on a personal level? We had a great discussion, not everyone always agreed with, but again, hence the opportunity. What happens when you're in a setting like this and people don't agree with you? You can assume you're right, but are you willing to listen? We won't ever understand people from different worldviews or cultures unless we're willing to listen to who they are and where they're coming from.
I'm John Mitchell. I teach science here at Chieftain Academy. My responsibility really as a science teacher is to create the lab experience for the students. So every week, with a few exceptions, we do a lab and they learn to write it up, and we have to do that. I think that's vital. Today we've been studying sound. We all know the phenomena that sound travels slower than light does. So today we tried to quantify that a little bit, went outside and had students, or me, at one end of about a 260-meter measured distance, banging 2 sticks together, or 2 boards together really, hopefully loud enough that the students could hear it. We did the calculation of at 6 degrees Celsius how fast the speed of sound should have been in the air before we went outside, and then they took 12 measurements of it. They're going to throw out 2 outliers, and then they're going to average those 10 together to reduce some experimental error. So they'll go home, they'll write this up. I really like grading the labs because I learn the students more, and I think the feedback I give them really helps a lot. The tests, not so much, but I do find out from the tests if they know the basic principles that they're supposed to know.
With the higher grades, they do become more challenging for homeschool parents. And I have 2 smaller ones, so I'd have to be studying a lot more in order to prepare her and teach her.
For me, Chieftain was the way that I could homeschool high school. I can do the English, I can do the history, I can do the foreign language. The math and the science are not anything I wanted to touch.
It was really nice to have English taught by someone else in a group setting so that there could be other opinions about the literature. Spanish is something I never would be able to teach on my own.
2 of my kids have taken classes here, and I really appreciate my kids being able to take classes that I could not teach. I have a math degree. I would not be able to teach the English and the upper level science classes and the language. So I'm very happy that the teachers here teach those classes.
They end up with a teacher who loves the subject. And I believe that makes a huge difference in how students enjoy, get through, whatever it may be.
Behold, everyone watching closely, this is pretty cool. Isn't that cool?
But I think if they have a teacher that really loves it, it comes through, and they just enjoy it a lot more.
What I like the best about Chieftain is that I feel it's preparing them for college. They come to classes once or twice a week, and they're given assignments. They have to decide when to do it on their own, and they have to be disciplined about doing that. And that's one thing that I think I didn't have when I went to college. I lacked that discipline, and it's really teaching them a valuable skill.
I think Chieftain is a great preparation for college, and from the experiences I've had with students these last 6-7 years, it's giving them a taste of what it's going to be like in a more formal setting with lots more kids in the class who don't think the way they do.
Many of the classes are only 1 day a week, and it's a ton of material that gets covered during that time.
The classroom time is very valuable. I have to prepare well for it because I don't want every minute's pretty valuable. So they get 2 hours of me a week instead of perhaps 5 if we were working in a traditional school, and they have to do quite a bit of work at home. I think the whole setup in the public schools or in private schools is you put in your time. I think that these students come to school with the mindset of you learn the material.
They come to class, it's a long class, just like college, and then they go home with work. They have to self-motivate.
Some students come in, and it's a real stretch for them to be able to do those things, but they grow and they develop over the years. And they rise to that challenge. They really do that. Our students develop into these strong, independent learners. And those qualities, those characteristics that come out are a huge help to them when they go off to college. And when we see the students leave, they're accomplished, they're ready, they're disciplined, they're ready to meet their next world, and it's a very smooth transition for them. I have 2 roles here. I'm the director, but I also have the privilege of teaching the Algebra 1 and the Algebra 2 classes. I mentioned earlier my background's actually elementary ed, so to start this was a little bit of a stretch for me, but I have just fallen in love with it. Getting up in front of my students and teaching them energizes me. Are you going to keep going, or are you going to back up? Yeah, because you're going to know that somehow you did manipulate it right. Thursdays, I have 12-hour days. I start here about 7:15 in the morning, and I'm not done until about 7:15 at night. But I go home happy. I really enjoy what I do. Being able to work with teenagers and be able to teach are 2 loves of mine, and I just am so grateful for what I get to do here.